Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Fred Northup Jr., and I am honored to be here with you today. We are live here in the studio. Thank you for being with us. We're watching you on the YouTube chat. I can see we've got people in Bellingham and Seattle and Newcastle and all over. So thank you for being with us. Now, a bit later, we'll be asking you to dig deep and give generously to fund the Alliance's life-saving work. And we are going to make it easy for you. We have a match that will double your donation. So your $10,000 becomes $20,000. Your $1,000 donation becomes $2,000. And so we hope that everyone watching will dig deep to take advantage of that match. So let's take a minute now so that you can know just how to do that. Here's what we recommend if you can. That way this program isn't interrupted. We suggest that you watch this program on a bigger screen, like a laptop. Then grab a second screen, like a phone or a tablet, and donate there by going to afgr2021.ggo.bid. You can see that link below. If you're there for the first time, you're going to click the words Get Started on the blue button and get set up. Ultimately, you'll click the gavel icon, and then you'll be all set to make a big difference with us today. Now, we'll be sure to include the relevant links in the chat as well, so you can always check there if you're not sure where to make your gift. Once again, thank you for being here.
Haslahil, Theresa Sheldon Siedsta, Tual Chaddu Flela. Hello and welcome from the Shtahobs territory. My name's Theresa Sheldon, a citizen of the Tulalip tribes. I want to thank you for joining us today to talk about gun violence. History will say that those with the biggest military and the most guns wins. But really, the history shows that through colonization, genocide, and mass murder, Native Americans have experienced a long history of death and violence at the hands of guns, really since the creation of gunpowder. Native American and Alaska Natives are disproportionately likely to experience gun violence in the form of fatal police encounters, homicide, domestic violence, and suicide. I thank you. I thank you for being here, and I thank you for doing more, because it's going to take all of us. And so today, I hope you leave here knowing your work matters, your story matters, self-care matters, taking care of yourself in a time of need matters, and you're loved and appreciated. And I wish you the absolute best to keep kicking butt going forward. And let's start some good trouble. ACM, Tigwid Seed, Haslahil.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to We the People, a virtual luncheon to celebrate and support the work of the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. I'm Ijoma Oluo, author of So You Want to Talk About Race and Mediocre, The Dangerous Legacy of White Male America. I am a mother, an advocate, and a lifelong Seattle resident, and I am proud to be here today in support of gun violence prevention. COVID has brought into sharp view the importance of communities rising to support each other. I've been inspired by the communities I live and work with, who are meeting this moment through mutual aid and strategic organizing to shape a world in which we are all safe. But as we have navigated and pushed through the public health crisis of COVID, our communities have continued to be impacted by the insidious, enduring public health crisis of gun violence. As a Black woman, the data on how gun violence impacts Black people and women generally is profoundly disturbing. Black Americans are 10 times more likely than white Americans to die by gun homicide, and women in the US are 16 times more likely to be shot and killed than women in other developed nations. 2020 set a record for gun violence. Mass shootings, like we saw recently in Atlanta and Boulder, have always garnered the most attention. But the fact is that mass shootings make up less than 1% of gun violence nationwide. Seemingly indiscriminate mass shootings slowed during the pandemic, but interpersonal violence, domestic violence, and gun suicide surged. On average, someone dies by suicide every 8 hours in Washington state, and almost half of those suicides are carried out by firearm. We know that interventions like safe gun storage and restricting access to impulsive gun purchasing directly reduces gun suicide. And as the mom of 2 kids who have battled depression, this type of common sense legislation matters deeply to me. In domestic violence situations, research shows that the presence of a gun increases the risk of homicide by 400%. Restricting domestic abusers' access to guns truly saves lives. The Alliance has prioritized policies such as expanded background checks, which are supported by an overwhelming 97% of voters. We also know the fight to end gun violence can't be separated from the fight to dismantle white supremacy. I am invested in solutions that move past carceral punishment and policing to preventing gun violence in our communities. Today's program will showcase the evolving collaboration of the Alliance with Black-led organizations to envision a new way forward, where more police is not the answer, and investing in community-led safety is. Living in America shouldn't mean living with the constant fear of gun violence. We grieve all those we've lost. We also know that thoughts and prayers and empty platitudes from our elected officials is an insult to the urgency and leadership we need. We need a coalition to hold our government accountable, to stand up to and prevail over the heartless greed and corruption of the gun lobby, and to advocate for policy that protects us all. That is the work that the Alliance has stepped up to do, and that's why we're here today, to fight gun violence in all its forms, to keep our communities safe. Throughout this program, we will hear more about the crisis of gun violence, how the Alliance is rising to meet it, and the urgency of this moment in shaping a world that is safe for all. Thank you for being here, and thank you for your support. We'll have a live paddle raise where you can pledge your support. You can start giving to the Alliance right now with the link down below. A generous donor has agreed to match all donations raised today, so give meaningfully, and your gift will go twice as far. At this time, I'd like to welcome Renee Hopkins, CEO of the Alliance, to share her opening thoughts.
Thank you, Ijeoma. We are so honored to have you with us. And thank you all for joining us today for our second and hopefully last virtual luncheon. This is the Alliance's biggest fundraising day of the year, and it is absolutely crucial for funding the life-saving work that we do. And sadly, as Ijeoma just outlined, this work is more urgent than ever. In the 8 years since the Alliance's founding, with your help, we've proven that inaction is not inevitable and that change is possible. We have come so far. But these past months have made it clear that we have so much work left to do. The pandemic exposed and exacerbated existing risks of gun violence. And at the same time, gun sales soared, reaching record highs month after month. The effects of these cascading crises will be with us for years to come. The past months have also made it more clear than ever how incredibly fortunate we are to have such an engaged and supportive community dedicated to ending gun violence. This movement is bigger than any one group, and we are so proud to stand beside Brady, Ceasefire, Everytown, Moms Demand Action, the faith community, the medical community, March for Our Lives, and last but certainly not least, Grandmothers Against Gun Violence. A special thank you to Nick and Leslie Hanauer for your continued partnership and leadership. And thank you to our dedicated staff and board members led by Matt Ballou and Lisa Mannion. And thank you to each and every one of you. We know without such amazing support, we would be nowhere. And we know that with your help, we can take on the challenges ahead. So now let's get to the program.
Well, thank you so much, Renee. If you're just joining us, everyone, welcome. We are live in the studio right now. Thank you for coming together with us. Again, we're watching the YouTube chat. We have people now checking in from not only all around the Pacific Northwest, but all around the country as well. So thank you for being here with us. The work we're doing is incredibly urgent, and we cannot do it without you. As you heard, you can donate at any time during our program. Simply go to afgr2021.ggo.bid. Now, so that this program is not interrupted, I suggest using a second screen like a phone or a tablet to donate. But again, the link below, afgr2021.ggo.bid. Just click the words that say Get Started. Remember, because of our match, your gift will be doubled today. And so we hope that you will dig deep and make a gift that is truly meaningful to you. Now, back to Ijoma.
2020 was a reawakening in the mainstream American consciousness that Black lives matter. Black and Brown communities have never ceased organizing and fighting for the resources we need to keep each other safe, and we persist today. Here's more on how the Alliance is working on their commitment to anti-racism and their alignment with Black and Brown-led organizations and coalitions, as we know that the most impacted communities must be trusted and resourced to protect those most likely to be harmed.
My experience is defined by growing up as a person of color, as so many of our communities experience gun violence on a daily basis, and that violence often isn't talked about. It's violence that is overlooked because it doesn't make headlines. We are uniquely positioned on the front lines of this effort to be able to fight back against the lack of representation and criminalization that happens in the media and in the way that these forms of violence are talked about. Oftentimes it's uncomfortable for us as gun violence prevention advocates to talk about fight against police brutality and gun violence that happens at the hands of law enforcement. So many times that where we go to the ballot, and we do so with law enforcement and with the support of law enforcement. But I think that's what uniquely positions this movement to address that intersection. I also think in this fight we have to address the way that the gun violence affects communities disproportionately. It's one of the things that made me so proud to be on the team of youth fellows on Initiative 1639, is that the Alliance in particular used the platform that we have to uplift the voices of students of color who were at the center of the legislation that we were trying to get passed. And that mission is one of the best things that we can do as a movement to make sure that these disproportionate and different effects are addressed.
One of the things that we're most proud of at the Alliance was last year we passed a bill that established the first of its kind statewide Office of Firearms Safety and Violence Prevention. This office is groundbreaking because it will use research and data collection to inform community-based solutions and really center the violence that happens disproportionately in our Black and Brown communities that has devastating impacts on young Black and Brown men and the communities that surround them.
You have to do research, you have to collect data, you have to be able to identify in which communities we're seeing gun violence. And we have to be able to identify individuals around that community, and we have to do preventative work.
One of the most exciting and potentially impactful elements of the new office is a grants program that will be giving grants to community-based solutions. And these solutions are organizations that have been working on the ground with violence prevention, intervention, and interruption. They know what their communities need, and now we have state funding to help support that.
All the data tells us that young people who have been impacted by gun violence are likely to be the ones who are impacted again as someone who's harming or someone else who's being harmed. And that's the heart of our cause at Choose 180. We employ folks with lived experience that engage young people in community at critical moments of their lives and help them pause, pivot, and commit to a new direction. So instead of being engaged in the criminal legal system, young people get community. Instead of running around feeling guilty, young people receive grace. And instead of being viewed as a problem, young people are viewed as a possibility and given the resources they need to truly live into who it is they see themselves as. And that's the heart of our cause at Choose 180. Our organization intentionally engages young people at critical moments in their lives where things could go really, really poorly if they don't get the appropriate engagement from someone who's able to see them as they are and not as what they've done. But what we must do is understand that the disease of violence doesn't see race. The disease of violence does, although, flourish in certain social and economic conditions. And in those conditions that have been created by a history of racism in America, there are people who are black and brown that are disproportionately impacted. And because of that, we have to respond accordingly. And look at the numbers, and look at the data, and look at where handgun violence is impacting people in our country, and respond accordingly with the same zeal and enthusiasm as we do when there's a mass shooting that manifests itself in a horrific way. I've never been in the midst of a mass shooting. I've never lost a family member to a mass shooting, but I have lost an uncle to gun violence, friends to gun violence, young people to gun violence. And as I begin to look over the course of my life and add up each one of those numbers, not one of them are less significant than the many lives that are lost at the moment of a mass shooting.
And now, for a moment of poetry, Amber Flame is an interdisciplinary creative, activist, and educator based in Tacoma, and will be sharing her original work with us all.
Hello, y'all. My name is Amber Flame. I'm a poet and musician here in the Seattle area, and I'm so honored to be invited to be here with you all today. I thought a lot about the theme We the People over the last couple weeks, really around this communal grief that we're feeling, this anger that is rising up again as another cycle of death, Black death, happens to our nation. A cycle that actually never ends, but just gets noticed every now and every summer, it seems like, as it starts to warm up. That grief and the grief of the thousands and thousands of people we've lost. And when I think of what we're going through and what we've survived, that's where the voice of we comes in for me really strongly. And I think about how we need to become a unit of people. We need to be a we. We need to bring ourselves into alignment with each other so that we can care for each other. And we all need to make that commitment for each other as much as for ourselves. So that's what We the People means to me. I'm excited to hear more about what it means to you all. And I hope you enjoy this poem. This poem is called A List of Things Not Right, But Okay. It's for Whitney. Oh, this trash fire world. This rubber burn stench, this excrement on old frosted donut of a president, of a judge, of a government, of a society, of a world. Oh, this happiness springing eternal in this muck. Oh, this soil-rich, manure-laden muck. Oh, storm. Oh, earth, swallow. Oh, torrents, torment, and refusal to feed and clothe and shelter our own. Oh, these dead, tired ancestors, these too soon gone talents in time of need. Oh, celebrity, celebrated death. Oh, truth unpeeled. Oh, misdeeds stripped away too soon, stripped away to reveal villains. Oh, my silent complicity. Oh, your silent complicity. Our villainy in loving what chooses to do ill, the villainy. Oh, laid aside beliefs, what we uttered, fixed our mouths to speak before we were woke. Oh, our inherent fallacy, the fallacy. how we play hypocrite to our own natures. Oh, self-righteous anger, oh, indignant growth, oh, pitiless setting aside what we knew once. Now we learn better. Oh, late bloom of compassion, oh, fiery mantle of justice, oh, justice, and the stake we are all tied to. Oh, a stench, the stench, oh, the world burns and us with it. Call it not right, oh, but call it.
My book, Mediocre, explores the pervasive and dangerous phenomenon of white supremacy and patriarchy within the United States. And nowhere was that more on display than the attack on the Capitol on January 6th. Armed intimidation is a hallmark of white supremacy, from Washington, D.C. to our state capitol and even in our neighborhoods as we come together in peaceful protest. Armed white supremacists are a very real threat to our democracy, and strategic interventions to disarm them have never been more urgent.
For the last many decades, the gun lobby, the NRA in particular, has been stoking the fear of individuals within our country laced with racism and misogyny, and really has been calling for people to express their political opinions while armed. And we've seen the dire consequences of that. We've seen it state by state and on January 6th at our national capital. The use of firearms to halt free speech, intimidate those that are wanting to take part in democracy, is something that we absolutely cannot stand for.
29 days ago, on January 6th of 2021, insurrectionists attacked our capital, seeking to overturn the results of our nation's election. Sadly, less than 29 days later, with little to no accountability for the bloodshed and trauma of the 6th, some are already demanding that we move on, or worse, attempting to minimize, discredit, or belittle the accounts of survivors.
I was so horrified by what happened at our Capitol. I couldn't believe that I was seeing images of the United States of America. You know, you always grow up thinking that happens in the other country, never in the US. It was truly shocking that militia, these individuals who show up with their guns and think that they can force their way into places of democracy is extremely concerning, and it should concern all of us.
What I remember most vividly is that the door, I didn't know if the door was locked. I mean, I go in and out of it and I couldn't remember if I locked it. And I was just, and we had to be quiet. We didn't want them to know we were in there, where we were. And I'm just looking at my husband and we're just eye contact, you know, just, we can see each other's eyes. Please let this door be locked. And this vision of my husband just putting his foot against a door like he might be able to hold down this incredibly loud, angry, even jubilant mob outside our door was just beyond belief.
When I was 8 years old, my brother and I got into a fight over my cat. And he went into the gun room and he grabbed a gun and he brought it into the room. Unfortunately, the gun was loaded and he shot me. He shot me through my leg and my arm. The gunshot severed my sciatic nerve, which has made it so that I have limited mobility in my leg. I have to wear a brace every day in order to walk. Anywhere I go and speak about gun violence prevention, there are going to be people there open carrying guns with the only intention to shut me up and make me go home. The very first time I testified, I was waiting to go into the hearing room and, I was very nervous. And a man came up to me and he said, "I can tell just by looking at you that you have a sad story to tell." And I said, "I have a powerful story." And he turned so that I could see that he was carrying a gun. And he said, "My gun is always going to be more powerful than any words you can say." That was my first experience of being intimidated by somebody with a gun.
We just have to be very, very clear that you cannot use guns as an intimidation tool. And that is exactly what they have been used for the last year. It was huge that we have a bill in the Senate that tells people you cannot carry your guns at a rally or a protest, because the only reason the visualization of those guns is to prevent others from exercising their First Amendment rights.
My heart goes out to the families who lost someone in all of the shootings across the country, and I'm proud to stand alongside incredible young people who wasted no time to demand action and justice for their friends and teachers. They are determined, they are brave, they are unafraid, and they are depending on us.
Fear is overcome by strength, by speaking out and speaking against what happened in the Capitol. That's what I want for my country. That's what I want for my grandkids. Speak up for our democracy now, or you may lose it forever.
It's more important now to support the work that the Alliance for Gun Responsibility is doing. We have a razor's edge majority right now. And the work that the Alliance is doing, they're in every voting district. They're in every meeting room. They're opening up every door for all of us to be there, where the laws are being passed, where that work is being done.
Supporting the Alliance is a necessity because the work that is getting done by the Alliance needs to happen. The Alliance saves lives, time and time again, whether that's through the initiative process, whether that's through community engagement, the uplifting of community voices, or whether it's through the legislative process and the relationships that have been built over years with legislators to support reasonable gun violence prevention legislation. The Alliance saves lives, and that's something that's worth investing in each and every day.
Democracy is not an individual sport. It is a team sport, which means everyone has to participate. You cannot just be a spectator. We've learned that in the last 5-6 years for sure. And because of that, you need to collaborate. You need to have supporters. You need to have people who really dig deep into the policy, who know what they're talking about, who you come up with bills that make sense, are practical.
It's clear that the need is great. Now, we are one organization of many here in Martin Luther King Jr. County, and we're grateful to be one of many organizations across the state. But in our work, we can't be alone. There must be more. And we believe that the advocacy force that the Alliance is a catalyst to that more. And your support in the Alliance creates possibilities that we've yet to live into because of their ability to lift up work like ours, be a champion of narratives like the ones that we live every day, and expose so many people to the terrific harm that's been put upon our community and the absolute need for a cure. Together, we can be that cure, but we must get there together. There is no greater power than the collective us, and that's been demonstrated in the partnership that the Alliance has held with Choose 180 and your commitment historically to the Alliance. So we need you today. We expect you today to do everything you can to help advance us on this journey towards justice and join us as part of the collective us.
That's right. You know, we've seen how urgent gun violence prevention is. As Sean just said, we need you to pitch in right now and keep this work going. So let's get right to it. Now, as you can see right now, we've raised, let me take a look here, $154,000 so far, both during this program and in anticipation of this We the People event. But we've got a long way to go to meet our goal of $1 million. That's where you come in. Join us now to prevent gun violence. Remember, because of our match, your gift right now will be doubled. Now, we're going to start at a big level and work our way down. We're confident there's a level that works for everyone watching. Our first giving level is $100,000. If you can join us at $100,000, please do. And we're watching all of your gifts come in live. We want to say thank you to Lenore Hanauer for your generous $100,000 donation. If you can join at $100,000, please do. We'll continue at the $50,000 giving level. If you can join us at $50,000, please do. Again, I've got screens here. I'm watching your gifts coming in live, just like you're seeing these gifts coming in live at home. We want to thank our lead $50,000 donors. Thank you, Dan and Cindy Bretler. Thank you, Sarah Rich Barton. If you can join them at $50,000, please do. And again, you can see right there, Catherine, thank you for your generosity. We just hope everyone will dig deep and take advantage of this match. Let's move now to $25,000. Who can join the fight to prevent gun violence right now at $25,000? And I want to say thank you to Steve Kessel for your gift of $25,000. If you can join Steve at $25,000, please do. Again, we know these are big numbers. We're confident there is a number that works for everyone, but we also hope that you'll reflect on the program and make a gift that is truly meaningful to you. All right, $10,000 is our next level. I know we always have a lot of $10,000 donations when we're in the room together. Remember, we might be apart, but we are together right now, live. Remember also, when you donate, you move us toward a community that is safe from the devastating consequences of gun violence. So we're so grateful to everyone who is giving. You can see these gifts coming in live right there. There's Nancy Norduff joining us. Thank you so much. Mike Galgan also at $10,000. Marion Tagney, thank you so much. Martha Kongsgaard and Peter Goldman, thank you so much. Jeannie Nordstrom, also at $10,000. Alex Algard, thank you for your generosity. John and Kim Shirley. Raj and Jill Singh, thank you. Jeff and Tricia Rakes. Lloyd and Janet Frink. Linda and Cam Mirvold, thank you. Jim and Jan Senegal. Don and Joellen Loeb, thank you. And I see an anonymous $10,000 donor joining us as well. If you can join them at $10,000, please do. Remember, this is the Alliance's big fundraising day of the year, and your donation today, you will fund the remainder of their important work in 2021. So again, remember, we've got that match happening right now. We continue to watch your gifts coming in live. You can see JD and Cecile right there. Thank you for your generosity at $10,000. That's incredible. So who's going to join us now at $5,000? Thank you so much, Dave and Kristen Acker. Ken and Sandy Glass also joining us at $5,000. Pete and Leslie Higgins at $5,000. Thank you. Again, we're watching all of these gifts coming in live. David Zapolsky and Lynn Hubbard, thank you. Ellen Ferguson, thank you so much. Susie and TJ McGill, thank you. Charles Brighton, thank you. And Diego Piacentini, thank you. Now, again, we're watching your gifts coming in live. We're even seeing some people who had said, you know what, I'm considering a gift at this level, who are jumping up and giving above that. And so we appreciate people who are digging deep wherever you are. We're watching gifts of $250, of $2,500, and of $25,000. This is a community coming together right now live, and let's keep it going, just like we do in the room, at $2,500. Who can join us with a donation of $2,500? Now, when you donate right now, you are funding evidence-based solutions to the crisis of gun violence in our community. And remember, because of our match, your $2,500 becomes $5,000 right now. So again, we're continuing to watch all of these gifts coming in live right here. Thank you so much at $2,500. Lynn and Bill Carr, thank you. Frank Lawler, thank you. Brian Osovsky, thank you so much, Brian. Who else can join us? I could see Ambassador Cynthia Strom there at $5,000 as well. Ms. Winifred Hussey at $5,000. Kara Magenti, thank you so much. Magenti, thank you so much at $5,000. Linda Parrish joining us at $2,500. Drew Johnson kicked us off at $1,000. Let's continue. We'll follow Drew's lead. Let's move on now to $1,000. Just, if you would, take a moment to think about what $1,000 will mean for the life-saving work of the gun violence prevention movement. You are a part, and we appreciate your donations. Again, if you're just joining us, the website is below. Log in to afgr2021.ggo.bid from any device to make your gift. Just click the words "Get Started" if you need to log back in or if you need to sign up. And remember, we have a generous match too that will double your donation. Your $1,000 right now becomes $2,000. So there's Theresa joining us. Thank you, Theresa. That gift is doubled. And there's Elena Jassy joining us at $7,500. That's amazing. Remember, with the match, that becomes $15,000. Kate, thank you so much. Stacy Cranshaw, thank you so much. Can you scroll back up? I just want to make sure I didn't miss anyone. There's Kate Levin. I want to make sure I'm saying people's names. Drew Johnson again, Stacy, Chuck and Jane Riley, Susan Payne, Reverend Michael Ryan, thank you. All of these gifts at $1,000, by the way. Gwendolyn Loosemore, Susan Eggers, Joyce Jackson, Virginia Lynn Anderson, all of these gifts at $1,000. Those $1,000 gifts becoming $2,000 because of our match. So thank you, everyone, for digging deep, just like you did when we were together in the room last year. Our paddle raise, of course, drawing to a close soon. We have more programming after the paddle raise, but now would be a great time to make a donation in the amount of $500. When you donate $500, one thing you're helping to do is create innovative policy. You're helping advocate for changes in laws. You're helping to promote community education to reduce gun violence. Your gift matters. $500 is what we're asking for. There's Cassie. Thank you so much for joining us live right there. Again, you can see that thermometer continue to grow. We're at $788,000 and climbing. Our goal is $1 million. I know that we can get there. Our next level is $250, and we have seen so many generous gifts coming in today. We've had, again, supporters, as I said, at $250, at $2,500, at $25,000. We just appreciate everyone coming together right now, just like we do in the room, and digging deep to make a gift that is meaningful to you. So if you can join us at $250, we say thank you for your generosity. Who can join us right now? Again, you can see Ian joining us right there, Stephanie joining us right there. Thank you, everybody, for your generosity. Our goal is 100% participation. We're just confident that there's a level that works for everyone watching. And so look at that. There comes that anonymous match at $10,000. That is continuing to come in as you continue to give. Thank you. Look at that. Cheryl Berenson at $2,500. Thank you for your generosity. Let's keep it going right here. Hollis, thank you for your generosity. Mr. Ian Morris joining us at $5,000. Thank you. Nathan Hambley, Aaron and Paula Barnes, thank you. Maria Frederickson, Colleen and Bill, thank you so much. Pamela, Sherry Morrison, thank you. Gail Dawson Morrison, Cassie Garvin. We're just watching. Jeff Kunis, thank you so much for your generosity. Our good friend Pamela Eakes, thank you for your generosity. So good to see you here, giving more than once, it seems. So Zachariah Silk, thank you for your generosity. Everyone, let's keep it going. Look at that. We're at over $800,000. Let's keep it going. Our last official level is $100. Perhaps you can spare $100 to prove that gun violence is preventable. Now, I know that there are folks out there that have not yet made a donation, so please make one now. If you're looking for your wallet or your purse, we'll wait. We'll wait. That giving link stays up and active. The Alliance is doing such incredible work, and your support makes it possible. So many donations coming in. Look, there's Dow Constantine. How wonderful is that? Thank you. I know we've got many electeds watching today. Thank you so much. We've seen you in the chat. We've seen you here with your generosity. I really appreciate that. And so let's just keep all these gifts coming in. Sarah Stone taking us to $818,000. Robert taking us to $819,000. We can do it. Thank you to everybody. There's Laura Kleinoffs, another good friend of ours. So many of our supporters who we normally get to be with, from the grandmothers to everyone, all of our different partners that we normally see. It's so wonderful to see you in the chat as well. Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you, Liz. Thank you so much to everyone who has raised your paddle so far today. We are well on our way, as you can see, well on our way to our $1 million goal. I know that as donations continue to come in over the rest of the program and over the next few days, we will get to where we need to be. We are now at $830,000. Amy Hines joining us. We're just watching these gifts continue to climb. So thank you again, everybody who has given. Now, please share the link with your friends and family on social media so they can donate too. And a reminder, if you work for a company that will match your donation, please make sure that that happens today or this week. And also a reminder that this whole program will be archived here on this same YouTube link as soon as our program is over. So please share this YouTube link with your friends and with your family so that they can watch and donate as well. Now don't go anywhere. $830,000 and climbing. Again, keep that link handy, afgr2021.ggo.bid. But we still want to hear from our keynote speakers, as well as a very special musical performance that we have for you. My name is Fred Northup Jr. Again, it's been my honor to be witness to your generosity and to the important work that we're doing together. Thank you so much. I hope, of course, to see you all in person next year. And now, back to Ijoma.
Thank you, Fred. And thank you all who generously gave today. Our next guest has become a leader in the movement for gun responsibility. Himself a survivor of the Parkland school shooting in 2018, he has used his advocacy and his voice to fight for youth-led, progressive solutions to gun violence. He is the co-founder of March for Our Lives, a New York Times best-selling author, and aspires to run for public office. Please welcome David Hogg.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility for having me at your We the People event. The reason why I'm part of gun violence prevention is because of a shooting that happened at my high school on March 14th of 2018. I wanted there to be space for people like my sister and so many others that couldn't speak at the time to speak and not have their narratives dictated by talking heads on TV that debate this issue and then just move on after another mass shooting in America. Until there's just another one. I wanted this to be different because, there's no reason why in the United States it should be easier to get a weapon of mass destruction like the AR-15 than it is to vote. And that's what I went out there and did. I went out there and spoke to people. A couple of days later, a group of friends started texting about creating this thing called doing a march on Washington. And originally we thought we were going to get about 90 people to Washington, D.C., and ultimately we ended up getting over 800,000 to the nation's capital with over 800 marches on every inhabited continent around the world. In the time since, we've expanded into a chapter-based organization and have grown immensely. And I think one of the things that was really instrumental in us being able to have, our success and the movement becoming more successful as a whole was the work that groups like the Alliance for Gun Responsibility have done in the years prior, and other state groups have done in the years prior, and local Black and brown gun violence prevention groups have done for decades before us that really laid the groundwork to make this possible. So I really want to give my appreciation and acknowledgement to you all of that and the role that states like Washington have played. I mean, I've looked at some of the ballot initiatives that you all have led, and I'm quite envious of you all in that regard and the difficulty of us being able to do our own ballot initiative within the state of Florida. We know that even though the media likes to talk about gun violence only after there's a mass shooting, we know that we need to confront the things that cause the majority of gun violence in this country, which are gun suicides and gun homicides and unintentional shootings that often don't get on the news, right? It's absolutely necessary for the movement as a whole, for all of us to acknowledge that it's about a lot more than the guns as well. It's about why do the young people especially feel the need to pick up a gun in the first place? And I think when we start talking about that, we start recognizing the role that justice plays in creating peace in the United States. We have to acknowledge the fact that one of the top predictors of where shootings occur the most in our country is where communities were redlined by the federal government and Federal Housing Administration in the 1930s and 40s, and a legacy of violence that is a product of that injustice that lasts to this day. We have to acknowledge that the role that systematic racism, quite frankly, plays in gun violence in this country. Food deserts, the lack of resources that so many communities have that drive gun violence as a whole, and pay attention to the work that local Black and brown organizations are doing and ask them how, not telling them what we're going to do for them, but asking how we can assist them, and what best way we can help participate in the work that they do within their own communities, instead of, going to somebody else's community and saying to them, this is what we're going to do for you. And I think it's through the movement talking about that commitment to justice while acknowledging the role that gun laws do and have to play in ending gun violence that we really can, and I truly believe eventually will become a peaceful country where no child has to live in fear in their schools or in their community, no matter their zip code and no matter the number of figures in their parents' bank account. Every child and every person in the United States hopefully will be able to live a safe future no matter if they're not on an Indigenous reservation, in a city or in a suburb, that every child knows that they don't have to fear for their safety on a daily basis. And that's the future that we're working towards creating. And I think we can. I think we've seen examples of that throughout U.S. history. When a group of committed, even a small group of committed individuals come together in the relentless pursuit of justice, we can make some seriously incredible things happen in a relatively speaking short time period. And it's essential for all of us to take care of ourselves as we're doing this work. To realize that if we as individuals are not taking care of ourselves while doing this, we're not taking care of the movement, because we all, as organizations and individuals, are the movement. And if we're not taking care of ourselves, then we're not taking care of the movement. So thank you for having me. I sincerely appreciate the work and am inspired by the significant impact that you all have had on the state of Washington, and look forward to seeing what comes next, because you clearly have a recipe that works, and I hope to see it replicated across the country even more. Thank you.
2 weeks ago, President Biden and Vice President Harris declared a commitment to finally treat gun violence as the public health crisis that it is. They announced 6 immediate actions their administration will take to address the epidemic of gun violence, and called on Congress to do even more. Many of their proposals, from extreme risk protection orders to closing loopholes to investing in violence intervention programs, are policies already in place in Washington state, thanks to the work of the Alliance and their partners. Our state is a model for other states to follow in how to balance rights with responsibilities and keep our schools and communities safe.
Washington state has been leading the country in so many different ways. You take a look at voting rights, you take a look at paid family leave, any of those issues, Washington is number one. And it's true even with gun violence.
For the past number of years, the Alliance has worked to strengthen our civil protection order system across Washington state. And this year, we were successful in passing a sweeping modernization of civil protection orders that will keep survivors and their families safe from sexual assault, domestic violence, and harassment. This really puts Washington state at the forefront of strong civil protection orders to keep families safe.
I'm just so proud of the work we've done on background checks, closing loopholes when it comes to individuals with domestic violence convictions, taking a look at our extreme risk protection orders, which was everyone in the state showed so much support for it. I think that's what's important, because states learn from other states. And so the more we can do, the more we enable other states to follow suit.
We're committed to fighting for a world where people don't fear death going to the grocery store or the spa or a movie theater. Whether people realize that they're susceptible to that threat or not, it is a threat that each one of us walk around with. It's a threat that the work that the Alliance is doing is actively fighting against. It's work that we've got to continue doing.
The Alliance is unique and impactful because we really center the experiences of people impacted by gun violence and really believe in the power of story to ensure that change is made.
The Alliance for Gun Responsibility was able to open up doors for me and pull out a chair at the table so that my story could get to the people that needed to hear it. Because once you hear somebody's story, a story as tragic as what happened to me, it becomes your story too. And it's something that you carry with you then forever, just like I carry it. And that's how we make change, is we all become part of each other's story. And it's hard to ignore someone who's telling you about how horrible it is to get shot when they're 8 years old.
Another thing that sets us apart is our holistic nature. Yes, we definitely elect gun violence prevention champions, but we also hold them accountable to actually pass laws once they are elected. And then we make sure on the other side that stakeholders and systems partners are actually implementing laws the way in which they were intended.
When you're in Olympia and there's a bill, you just start getting flooded with emails. And people pay attention. You know, how many people are emailing pro, how many are emailing con? And let me tell community, NRA, is very organized. And so when we start getting all of these emails, it is so nice to be able to get emails that are supportive, that say, we got your back, you're thinking the right way, there are people out there who support you.
A lot of times people say, oh, it's been so many years since Sandy Hook and we haven't done anything. And I just have to sit them down and say, we've done so much. We have legislators who are really advocating for gun violence prevention. We have a president who ran on a platform of gun violence prevention. We are at this tipping point. We are coming to the place where it's just going to be a given that we're going to be safer around guns, that people are going to make sure that their guns are stored safely. And we're going to have nationwide legislation that's going to get through. We're winning. We're winning every day. We've come so far, and I'm so proud of the work that I've done. And the reason I've been able to do that work is because of the Alliance for Gun Responsibility. Washington State has just done amazing things in gun violence prevention, and we can draw that line straight to the Alliance for Gun Responsibility and the work that they do on the ground every day.
Next up, we have our state's most senior senator, who began her political career as a grassroots organizer fighting for education programs and opportunities in Olympia. She has been an essential advocate for common sense gun violence prevention policy in Congress. Please welcome Senator Patty Murray.
Hi all, Senator Patty Murray here. I'm so glad to be joining you all today to talk about the urgent need for gun responsibility. In my nearly 30 years in the Senate, I've gone to the floor too many times in the aftermath of a mass shooting to demand action on common sense gun safety reform. First, it was Columbine. 21 years ago, we watched in horror as gun violence tore through the sacred halls of a high school. Then came Virginia Tech and Sandy Hook, Orlando, Las Vegas, Parkland, El Paso, Atlanta, Boulder. And it's hit close to home as well, at the Jewish Federation, Mount Pilchuck High School, Mukilteo. My heart broke each time. Of course, the gun violence crisis is much more than mass shootings. It is domestic violence, suicide, police violence, community violence. It is a threat to our public safety, and it is a threat to our democracy. We've seen that threat come to life in Congress as well, whether it was the attack on Gabby Giffords or the real fears so many of us experienced on January 6th, knowing many of the insurrectionists were unchecked and heavily armed. Meaningful action to curb gun violence and enact common sense solutions on the federal level is long overdue. And I've always been proud to point to my home state as an example that change is possible. Washington has made real strides in addressing this crisis, thanks to groups like the Alliance and advocates like all of you. I am fighting to get the other Washington to follow your lead. I've long been pushing to pass universal background checks, implement extreme risk protection orders, reinstate the assault weapons ban, and regulate magazine capacity. I've also been proud to use my role on the Appropriations Committee to make sure federal resources can be invested in gun violence safety. So thank you for all of your advocacy and leadership. Know you will always have a partner in me. Thank you.
Our next guest is a 21-year-old singer-songwriter from Everett, Washington. She's a graduate of the residency program and has featured at Mopop's Sound Off, and I'm personally grateful for Claudine's participation in KEXP's Refill virtual fundraiser in support of my Seattle Artist Relief Fund, which has been the largest provider in Washington state of emergency funds to artists impacted by the COVID pandemic. Please welcome Claudine Magbag.
Here for a good time, not a long time. That's where everybody seems to be these days. And I didn't know why you're on my mind. It's not even like we used to know each other anyways. Feels like everybody's got No doubt that's what we need. But I wonder, could you tell me why this so damn extreme? There's no wrong or right. You move on in life. I can't control the way that all this gonna change. I'm sure you'll find your place a million different ways. It all just works out to be what it's supposed to be. We all got highs and lows in life. No doubt that's what we need. But I wonder, could you tell me why this so damn extreme? Da-ya, la-la-la-da-da-da-ya, la-la-la-da-da-da-ya, la-la-la-da-da-da-ya. I need something. I wish I found myself trying slow and steady. But it's a given that we're emotion. I can't pretend that it's all it's gonna be. We all got highs and lows in life. No doubt that's what we need. But I wonder, could you tell me why it's so damn extreme? We all got highs and lows in life. No doubt that's what we need. But I wonder, could you tell me why it's so damn extreme? Da-ya, la-la-la-da-da-da-ya, 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 la-la-la-da-da-da-ya.
We've heard powerful stories and calls to action from the Alliance and its community. And now it's time for us to step up and support their critical work. Your generosity is needed now more than ever to protect democracy, strengthen community-led organizations, and to keep leading by example here in Washington State on policies that protect us all. It is essential to sustain the powerful work done by the Alliance for Gun Responsibility to ensure that we can all live full lives without the fear of gun violence. It's been an honor to be with you today. Thank you for all your support, and may we all do what we can to protect and care for each other.